Hello, my name is Jake Youngblood, and I attended the new student dialogue entitled "Breaking Down the Wall: A Barrier on Race." Coming in the dialogue, I wasn't too sure what to expect, uh, but when I got in there, I was expecting just to go right into talking about race and everything. But it started talking about the differences between dialogue and discussion, and this was dialogue, discussion, and debate more specifically. I'd kind of seen those words as synonymous with each other almost, but they made it clear that they weren't. Like I said, and as the dialogue went on, I found out we really were exploring those differences and talking about what dialogue actually is. And I think as a group, my race dialogue did achieve that true dialogue, because as we went throughout the thing, there weren't too many arguments. No one was debating. No one was trying to prove a point. No one was just sticking to one side, like in a discussion. People were really listening to everyone else, and they were really trying to understand what other people thought and trying to improve their own thoughts within that. So once we established that dialogue, once we really got talking, a few things really started to really stand out. Within the group, there were some people who talked a lot, some people who didn't talk too much, and some people who just plain didn't talk at all. But so there were a lot more. And looking at the people who talked the most, the most active voices within our group, it seemed that the most active ones were those of a different race, of a minority race, who weren't white. There was one more active. He was a Samoan guy, very, very proud Samoan, very proud of his heritage, and he seemed to have the most to talk about, which makes sense. Those who've had to deal with race, who've had to deal with differences, who've had to deal with prejudice and such, they're going to have the most to talk about. Whereas the reserved voices within there, a lot of them were people almost like me, just kind of white, Caucasian. There's a ton of them out there. There's white Caucasians. So they've never really seen a big impact that race has had on their life. So they didn't really have too much to add on it. But so with those people, since they didn't have too much of their own experiences involving the differences in race, a lot of times they kind of just had to, they and myself included, we had to share kind of our observations of how race could have affected someone else's life and how race does affect. So within that, I went into it as I'm gonna say what I've seen, what I've been able to realize, what I've been able to observe, and tried to take away from it. Try to listen to what other people had, listen to their experience they had experiences that I didn't experience. So I thought it'd be good if I listened to what they did experience and used that to form to change my own opinions about that. Library 100. A lot of freshmen see it as a little silly. It's like I said, it's not even really a class; it's kind of a list of tasks to do. But the dialogue, I really think, is one of the most important things we did throughout the whole Clemson, throughout the whole Library 100, because it got you within a group of the same people, of similar people to you, freshmen at Clemson, and it got you talking about something which you really wouldn't talk about unless you were put in that situation, in that environment. I'm never going to go up to a random person who I just met and start saying, hey, what do you think about race? What do you think about the differences in race and how they contribute to our society? But whenever you put someone in a situation where you have to talk about it, eventually they're gonna start talking about it. So they're gonna start forming opinions about it. And those opinions are gonna be different from someone else's, and someone's gonna see it, and someone's gonna counter their opinion, and it just creates this great conversation that really gets ideas flowing and ways to counter those ideas. It's definitely a useful tool in the university, because within the university, it's all about the spread and the wealth of knowledge that is created. It's all about gaining knowledge and then sharing the knowledge within the university, within academia, within any time you learn something. It's just important to spread it. So through this dialogue, everyone had this information. Everyone had their own experiences. This dialogue just gave a medium to present those experiences to other people. And hopefully, learning to present something about race or something about religion and within these dialogues, they learn how that works, and then they become more comfortable presenting their other thoughts and other beliefs and other information that they learn to other people in a similar form, like a dialogue, just maybe not as formal. Another thing I thought about the dialogue was very interesting was we did have a black facilitator. I don't know if that was by accident or if it was purposeful within the race, but I think it actually helped since he had a little more to say about race than maybe someone else who had like I said, maybe a white person who hadn't experienced race, where race wasn't as big of a factor on their life. So yeah, overall, the student dialogue was a very positive thing. It took up 2 hours of my Saturday, but it wasn't the worst 2 hours of my life. So I guess we're glad it happened. So thank you.